I mean, Chris Lighty, God bless his soul. Honestly, I think he's one of the greatest managers I've ever worked with. And we had battles. You know, we would have disagreements. This guy called me at 3 in the morning, yelling at me. We argue in the airport, like But at the end of the day, it was all for the greater good of the movement of what we was doing. So, we didn't. I worked with him through 50's whole career until he passed away. But before that, we worked at Loud Records together too, and he had Violator Records at the time over there. But my thing, being around Chris was just soaking shit up. Like, it was like I was just a sponge, and he'd come in a room, he'd fight for the artist. That's one thing about him. Like the rollouts, he was always stressing the rollout to be important. Like the timeline, the time the record is gonna come out, what we doing in between that, what kind of promotions we're doing in between that. I need this guy to be everywhere before this album drops. And I just thought he was a genius about that. I think working with Paul Rosenberg, I thought it was dope because it was, he had Shady Records, but he never had a staff, like a radio promo staff. And he didn't understand certain things that we did at promo, and what's funny is one time he's like, you smoke weed? And I was like, nah. He's like, why I always pass by your office and there's a weed smell in here? He's like, you doing something illegal out of here? And I was like, nah, man, like, he's like, why does it smell like weed? And I said, nah, I'll be having weed because I'll be giving weed to the DJs. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, what, you sell it to them? I was like, nah, just like, yo, here, I got you. I need you on this record. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was the looks on his face was priceless. Like, I don't believe you do things like that. I was like, nah, I'm telling you. But I think for me, what I learned from Paul was his extensive hip hop knowledge. Like, I couldn't believe that this guy just knew so much about hip hop. Like, and I'm like, damn, like you from Detroit and you knew about this? And then he's educated me on stuff that was happening in Detroit, just with the DJs out there and the way the culture was and battling and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, I didn't know y'all was doing it like that in Detroit. And even when I would go to Detroit and hang out with them, I would see how important he was out there to the culture. So I definitely learned a lot from Paul. Just as a, but I didn't see it. I just thought he was a manager or he was a lawyer or manager with a lawyer background, and he just managed him and knew a couple things. But his knowledge of hip hop was amazing, like extensive knowledge. Memorable moment with Steve Rifkin would have to be that guy's passion is something different. Like I've never I've worked with a lot of record executives, but he's a different type of passion, and like an animal, and passion mixed together is ridiculous. Like he's like a dog when he's passionate about something. Like he's like, this is the record, we're going after it. I'm not trying to hear it. I want street poster boards everywhere. I want this, and he will fight, but it will show me. Like I'm like, damn, you're at the top of the company. Like he was talking to you like he was next to you, saying, yo, I need you to make sure that this happens. Make sure the artist is happy about this. Make sure the record is getting played. And one thing about that, it was shocking to me. It was just more like I couldn't believe how passionate this guy was. And at the same time, I'm looking at it like, this is why the Wu-Tang was so successful and Mobb Deep, because I don't know any record executive that will take a shot on signing 8 to 10 guys and create something so iconic that we've never even seen that again after that. So for me, I was just again a student there, just soaking it up and looking at this guy, just like, this is what needs to be done. This is the idea. If the record is talking about this, we're gonna go after this. He was just an incredible marketing genius, but the passion he would throw behind that marketing was, I mean, he would talk like that to everybody, from the radio guy to the to the marketing guy, to the lawyer in the office, to the person who approves the budget, to the head of whoever's in charge of him at the time. He didn't care. Whoever he talked to, he was talking to them the same way, and I respected that because I thought that, there's certain people change their tone in conversation around different people. And with him, it was always the same tone, as long as he was passionate and he felt he was 100% right about what he was talking about. Here's what I'll say about Rich Isaacson from Loud Records at the time. it is very hard to manage a person like Steve Rifkin. And this guy, he didn't just manage the office, he had to manage Steve Rifkin too. And I just thought that was so impressive. Like, the way he handled him on certain things, like, no, we're not doing that. And they start arguing, they go back and forth, and then we need to do it differently. We can't deliver this message like this. We have to go this route. We have to do this. We have to do that. And I think it was a handful for Richard at the time, and not just that, but also managing the whole entire staff. But I give him a lot of respect for that. I just felt like Richard was the day to day in the office, and Steve was the culture guy. You know what I'm saying? Which is weird because when you really look at success of record companies, if you look at QC, you see coaches looks like he's the business guy, and what's his name looks like he's P. It looks like he's in the culture, nightclubs, dealing with the artists. And I felt like almost every record company has two like that. You know what I'm saying? Well, from what I've seen over the years, not everybody, but a lot of people have two people like that. That's executives. One is in the street, handles all, make sure he's on top of what's going on. Like Russell and Leor. Leor was the business guy, and Russell was in the nightlife, knew what record was hot. This is what we're doing the next day, coming in, and it was kind of like, I'm gonna bring you this mess, and then here you figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So, well, God bless the dead. Justo, one of my mentors in this business, along with OJ, Steve Rifkin, and a couple others. Justo taught me in this business to not take any shit. And when I say that, he was very adamant. I don't want to say this the wrong way, but back then, in the early 90s, Justo's whole thing to me was, I can't walk into an office and let these white boys tell me what to do about my culture. I know what I'm doing. They just, they need to figure out how we're going to work together as opposed to them telling me how to work my records. They don't know it. And I was like, at first I would see it like, damn, bro, like, you're going against your boss, pretty much telling him, fuck you. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's really what it is to me. In his terms, he was looking at it like, no, a lot of these people in these positions, they hire us to do the work. Let us do the work. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to bring the results back. It might not be as fast as you want it to be, but we'll bring the results back. We know the culture. We know the DJs. We know the climate of this music business. And I just thought that was, for me seeing it from him early in the game like that, it just gave me a different perspective. And it wasn't just him saying, it's not what these white boys say. He was saying there was black executives, there was all type of executives coming in there telling him what to do, and the first thing he would ask them is, it wasn't just him like being targeting white boys and stuff like that in the company, but it was anybody, any record executive that didn't work in the ground level that of how to break music. He was on them. He was, it was like he was fighting outside to get his records played, but then he come into the building and was fighting them in the meeting and saying, no, we need to do it this way. We need to do it this way. And they would look at him like he's crazy. But then I was looking at him like, yo, you kind of crazy. Like, you talk like that to the guy who brought you in, stuff like that. He's like, no, that's what they brought me in there for. How is it I'm going to sit in a meeting and I'm going to let him tell me and dictate the pace of how do I roll out a record when that's what I was brought in there for? And I just thought that was powerful. Like at the time, I was like, wow, I didn't look at it like that. I just looked at it like, you can have 100 ideas. If your boss says, nah, we're not doing that, on to the next. You know what I'm saying? And it was a valuable lesson. Yeah, Justo worked at Atlantic Records. He worked at Epic Records. He worked at Nervous. He worked independently. And the Mixtape Awards, which is groundbreaking what he did with that. He put a lot of mixtape DJs on the map with the award shows. He was always very consistent. The award shows, just like everything else in hip hop, some of them weren't good, some of them were fights, some of them were amazing, some of them was iconic, some of them he did in different buildings in New York. He used to fly in a lot of DJs to New York City, not just mixtape DJs in New York, but mixtape DJs from Chicago, Houston, all across the U.S. And I just thought that Mixtape Award thing was different the way he did it, because he was giving an award to a DJ that was just putting out mixtapes. It wasn't even on the radio, or a DJ that was big in the nightclubs and was doing mixtapes. And, those DJs, they love him for that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when he passed away, that was a big hit to this business because remember, it was not just a mixtape DJ, but then there's a mixtape DJ who's breaking a new group like Whoo Kid, who's trying to break G-Unit through the mixtape circuit. You got K Slay who's breaking Dipset through the mixtape circuit, and there's countless of other DJs doing the same thing. And at the time, Justo was rewarding each and every one of those DJs for those projects, and I thought that was special. What's up, man? Money Nels, and I am a culture builder.